This is the WideWheel Pro, and we're going over the 4 critical upgrades that make this thrill-seeking scooter a lot safer. This is Chuck Temple with Electric Scooter Guide, your leading source of unbiased electric scooter reviews. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and definitely subscribe to our channel. In today's review, we're also going over the performance, the portability, the ride quality, the build quality, the overall pros and cons, and who this scooter is for, because it's not for everybody, but it is for some of you. The first thing you'll notice about this scooter is its looks. Somebody on Reddit mentioned that it looked like the Batmobile of electric scooters, and I tend to agree with them. I think it looks fast. It is one of the most fun scooters to ride, and that's because it has super punchy acceleration. The scooter is $1,150. It's sold by Fluid Freeride in the United States. It's got 2 solid tires and dual suspension, along with dual 500-watt motors for a total combined power of 1,000 watts. If you're buying this scooter, it's probably because you're looking for a scooter that goes super fast in a somewhat smaller package, although it still is 56 pounds. Let's talk a little bit about that acceleration. So we do really like the fact that it's got a thumb throttle right here. Even though the scooter is on, it's not going to accelerate because it does have a 0 start disabled on it, but we really like the thumb throttle over a trigger throttle because it's just a lot more ergonomic. Now, when you're on really good roads, the scooter, you can hold the speed. So if you don't want to go at full speed, you can hold the throttle down in the same position and it will hold your speed. Now, when you're going over bumpy roads, you're actually going to have a little bit of jerkiness in that acceleration. The acceleration is just so punchy and so responsive that when you're on kind of bumpy roads, your thumb has a tendency to just barely move on that trigger, and you're gonna get some jerking back and forth. Now, that jerking on really bad roads is a little tough, but if you're on smooth roads, this is one of the most fun scooters to ride. I know I love to take this scooter up to Tilden Park. I live in Berkeley, and I'll take it up a 1,000-foot hill, and it just goes, it's my perfect scooter to kind of blow off some steam when I want to. And it's a lot of fun. The other thing you're gonna notice real quick about this scooter, besides this insane acceleration, is these tires. There's only a few scooters that have tires like this. The 08X comes to mind, and there's a turbo wheel. I think it's the Hornet also comes to mind. We've tested a lot of the 08X. We haven't tested the Hornet. But what you're gonna notice about these tires and what makes them really different, especially versus the 8X, is that they're plush. And I don't know if you can see up close here, but I can actually push, I don't know if you can see that, but I can push that tire in, and you can actually feel that it's actually filled with a foam material. On small bumps in the road, it actually does a really nice job of taking out those smaller bumps. Now, larger bumps, it is still a solid tire, so you don't get the damping effect of pneumatic. Also, you know, in rainy conditions and things like that, it's not quite the scooter that you want to be ripping around in the rain, because of course the tires don't have a ton of traction. They're really kind of slick, which makes for a really fun ride in good conditions, but in poor conditions you need to be really careful. The other cool thing about these big wide tires is that the scooter tracks really well. So, you know, when you're on a straight line, the scooter just kind of maintains its line and it goes fine. What everybody talks about though, when you're riding this scooter, the first thing you really notice, besides the really insane power, is the way that you have to turn on this scooter. It's not intuitive, it's not what people are used to. The scooter wants to stay straight. And so as you turn, you can't just, you know, it's not a nimble scooter where you can just turn the wheel real quickly and get that responsive turning. What you have to do is you kind of have to lean quite a bit to the side, and you can't really turn fast, although with some practice, you can get a lot better with it. The scooter, one of the upgrades of the Pro version versus any of the previous wide wheels, is that the top speed is actually increased. They say 25, I think, miles an hour on the website. We actually clock this thing in at 26.5, 26 actually 0.7. So 26.7 miles an hour is what we clock this in at for top speed, and we use GPS separate monitoring equipment. We don't use the speedometer on the wide wheel itself. Also, your acceleration, we measure it to 15 miles an hour, 20 and 25 miles an hour. Acceleration on this bad boy is 3.3 seconds to 15 miles an hour, 5.4 seconds to 20 miles an hour, and we got it to 25 miles an hour in just 7.7 seconds, making it one of the fastest scooters in this price range. The battery got an increase of about 14% in the watt hours. However, the range was only increased about 3%. So we got 19.3 miles of range in the fastest mode. The older wide wheel got 18.8 miles of range. So it did get more range, but the battery is actually quite a bit larger than the old battery. And I think that that difference is due to the fact that we ride this scooter a bit faster than the older models because this has a higher top speed. Now, the other big change that they put on this scooter is a second brake, which we absolutely applaud Mercane for adding the second brake. There was a recall on the old wide wheel model that Fluid Freeride actually spearheaded themselves, which we applaud them for doing that. Mercane has responded by not only fixing that older brake, but now they've got two brakes on there, because when you're going fast on a scooter, really over 20 miles an hour, it's really nice to have a second brake. So we do this braking test on electric scooters, and we stop from 15 miles an hour to 0, and we see how many feet it takes us to stop. The old wide wheel stopped in 21.9 feet, which is not all that great. This newer model actually stopped in 12.5 feet. I did have to do a little bit of adjustments first, and I can show you. I mean, it was actually real simple. You're just gonna kind of twist this guy. Well, I've already done it, but if you notice, when I twist counterclockwise, this arm is brought closer, and so then you just, you put that nut back down, and really what you're doing is you're just moving this arm closer to the barrel adjuster, and that will tighten the brakes up. You just want to be careful because the front brake, you just want to make sure that it's still a little bit looser than the rear brake, so that way you're not tightening your front more than your rear and popping over the top. But they're actually quite easy to adjust, and at first I was getting about 16 feet of stopping distance. That's out of the box stopping distance. With about a 1 minute modification, I'm getting 12.5 feet of stopping distance now, which is actually about what 2 disc brakes should be getting. So we're really happy that you have 2 disc brakes. They work really well. They're much needed on this scooter, and we absolutely applaud Mercane for making that switch. For portability, the scooter did get heavier. So the older version was 46 pounds. This new one is 56 pounds. So it's still, as you can see, I can carry it just fine, although, more than one flight of stairs I'm not really enjoying. To fold it up, it is nice that it actually folds up pretty small. It folds into a package that's 43 inches long by 9 inches wide by just 16 inches tall. And so you can fold these guys in, and then this has, if you've never seen this before, it's kind of a unique system here. Where you unscrew this guy, kind of push it forward, and this will come down. What is holding this in is 3 little nubs right here. I don't know if you can kind of get a picture of that. There are 3, so you can see as I turn it, and they fit into 3 holes on this side. So when you're ready, when it's all folded down, you just twist this back. That locks the stem in this folded position, and then of course you can pick it up by the stem. Again, don't love holding this for too long. It's 56 pounds, so I can still pick it up, but it's just not it's not that fun to pick it up. But the stem does have a lock. Now, if you're going to lock the scooter to like a bike lock or something, there is really only one place that you can do that well, and that is the back right side of the suspension arm, or the swing arm as they might call it. So let me turn the scooter around. So right here, this little area, you can get your lock right through there. So there is a place to lock this scooter up. So some people don't love this type of design because they say it takes longer to fold and unfold. And while that is true, there's so many different folding mechanisms. When it comes to folding and unfolding, once you kind of get the hang of it, this is how long it takes. So I would say maybe about 15 seconds total to fold and unfold, because this actually just comes up and now you're ready to go. So here, I'll take it back down and you can kind of see how long it takes. So those work pretty well. you just undo this, pop it in a little bit, and then that's it, and you're ready to go. So you know, it's, to me, I'll undo it again. To me, it's not really a huge difference. I think the main thing is that you kind of have to get down on the ground a little bit. You can't just you know, you can't just bend over and do it, because it's just a little bit harder. So I like to get down here, but that's about it. In terms of the quality of the ride, it's all about the power with the wide wheel. It's all about your acceleration and like the feel of the scooter kind of just jerking you, you know, around and stuff like that. It's, again, it's fun. It's not for the person that wants a relaxing, comfortable ride. It's not that scooter. It's a scooter for probably a younger person that is like, wants to have the thrill ride. So with the solid tires, you know, you don't have maintenance on them, but you are gonna feel not the small bumps, but like the bigger cracks in the road. You will feel that. Now when you're going over speed bumps and stuff like that at speed, this suspension does feel a little bit softer than the older wide wheel, and so it does soak up a lot of the larger bumps in the road with that suspension. We would have really liked to see Mercane include any kind of audible device. There's no horn, there's no bell, there's no nothing here. So look at our video description, because we have really a pretty inexpensive Amazon link for one that we really like. Overall pros for the scooter is all about performance. It is probably the fastest scooter at its price category. You really got to go up to some of the cheaper Nan robots to get something that's going to be more punchy and have more acceleration than this scooter. So that is one huge pro. That is kind of the reason why people buy this scooter. Also, it looks pretty awesome. It doesn't have a lot of maintenance because of those solid tires that still are kind of plush. The braking performance, similarly excellent at 12.5 feet after just a minute of adjustment, which took me no tools, I just twisted them. That's really good. And then really the pros are all the other upgrades that Mercane did to this scooter to make it much better than the previous version. So as you can see, the deck is quite long, but it's not very wide. So at its thinnest point, it's actually less than 5 inches right here. This whole section here is actually about 4.75 inches wide, which is actually the smallest width of any platform of any scooter that we've tested. Now, the width isn't as important as the length, right? I would rather have a skinnier platform that's longer than a wider platform that is not long, right? And so as you can see on my feet here, right, we've got, I can fit almost both feet, you know, right one behind the other, but you know, I don't have a lot of room to put my left foot out to the side, which is my preferred riding position. Another con for some riders is the weight limit of just 100 kilograms or 220 pounds. For me, I'm 165 pounds, and the suspension is beautifully built for me. It's actually pretty, it's actually a lot softer than the older wide wheel, and I don't get it to bottom out ever. Which is also really nice. Another con is the rear fender. While it looks like it has really good coverage for when you do ride in either rain or mud or whatever like this, it doesn't actually block all of it, and so you'll get splatter over here and you'll get some splatter on the back of your pants if you're riding in the rain or in mud, which we actually don't recommend for this scooter. We don't love the cord positions here, so as you can see, this, especially this one on the right, is really kind of loose and it's out pretty far, which we're worried that it's gonna catch on something. So if you get close to a bicycle or something like that, we would hate for this to catch in their chain. So the cable routing could be a lot better. Like the previous versions, while this is a really kind of like intuitive design for a stem lock, when you go over rough terrain, this does tend to come loose. So it'll come maybe just a little bit loose, which will give you just a little bit of stem wobble. So as you can see, you know, maybe it'll be right about this much wobble, you know, after you go over some rough terrain. So that's, you know, it's not a deal breaker. It's just something that every couple miles you may want to just check and then, you know, retighten, which just takes a second, but it's kind of an annoyance. And then finally, you know, one or two of the handlebars can start to be a slightly loose. So for us, the right side is actually 100% solid, but the left side has just a bit of movement in it, if you can see how that's going up and down right there. So again, you know, it's close to perfect, but it's not quite perfect yet. The Mercane WideWheel Pro is sold exclusively in the US through Fluid Free Rides. You can see the link in the video description to the scooter on their site. Fluid Free Rides, while only offering a 90-day warranty on the scooter, we wish it were more like 6 months, does support their customers after that 90 days is over, and nearly 100% of everybody that we've heard from that has bought from Fluid Free Rides has an overwhelmingly positive experience. This is Chuck Temple with Electric Scooter Guide, and thank you for watching our review of the Mercane WideWheel Pro. If you have any questions about this scooter, just ask them in the comment section, and I'll be on there answering them probably about once a day. Until next time, ride safe, and don't forget to wear your helmet. If you're interested in another scooter that's $1,000 that goes a little faster but's a little heavier, then check out our review of the Cabo Skywalker 10S. And if you want a scooter that's super portable but still has a dual motor configuration, check out our review of the Unagi Model 1.